Docker file, we'll build a Spring Boot image. Okay, then thereafter we will push the image, and once the image is pushed to Docker Hub inside a Kubernetes cluster, inside our Minikube cluster, which is the smaller version of our Kubernetes pinnet. Okay, during that creation of a pod, right, creation of a deployment, will pull the pre-built Spring Boot application. Okay, and will deploy to the our Kubernetes cluster. What we okay. So now what we will do here is I will show you the demo of it, how exactly it is like. Okay, if I hit my application, so this is our Spring Boot application. Here, first name, the last name, and all those things, data has been kept it over here. So if you wanted to check how exactly the how exactly I am hitting the APIs using Postman, right? So I have already created a this is our Postman. Okay, this is our Postman link, and then in the Postman link, this is my API, what I'm hosting it. So in that one, in that one, if you could see, I'm can enter these credentials. Just this is 28th May, right? Enter that. Okay, demo mail ID is I'm not doing any checking, so and can keep whatever you want. So if you click on this post API call or Spring Boot application, data is stored in our MySQL database. It interacts with our Spring Boot application, and data goes inside the our Kubernetes, our MySQL data. Okay, so if you refresh it, so again a get command I am doing it. See, our test 28th May record has been inserted our database. So using Postman also I can retrieve it here. Yeah, so here if you could see, I'm able to hit our API calls. I have done a get calls here. Okay, so if you could, the data has able to retrieve it. Okay, try to retrieve a second record. It is a second record. If you want pick this particular second record, and if I do a get API call, I'll get the that second respective record. So if you wanted to do a delete call, okay, so delete API call I'll be doing. Click on this, but you'll go and delete it off. Okay, the second record is deleted. So how you can check it out? You can get command. Okay, get API call. Only one is remaining, right? So again, I will say a third record. If you enter like this, the third record has been created. I will do again a get record. So you will see third record it has been in. So this is our Spring Boot application, and this is our wet. Okay, this is our backend which is communicating to our database. Okay, so in order to perform our read, delete, all these operations. Okay, so what we could do is now let us start from the beginning. How exactly can create such type of a application? That is following it up like this, in a Docker file, implementation of all this stuff. Okay, so this particular application which is running over here, right, on my local host, actually running on a Kubernetes cluster. That is a Minikube cluster which is running on my laptop. Okay, if you see, if I do a it'll get pods. This is my application, which is a Spring Boot application which is running. Okay, this is my database, which at that one all the data it has been recorded. Data has been stored. If you wanted to check it out, how do you check it? You say kubectl exe ending -it, okay, and the pod name /bin/bash. Okay. Now if you I have logged into MySQL container. I am inside the pod, inside my container. If I enter this, tables. This is the font guys were asking. Yeah, so I hope it is visible. So tables, if I say, you can say employee D. I'm using the database I'm using. Star whatever the records I have created, right? All these things is here. So I wanted to insert another record. Has been check it over record if test has been inserted for database. So now let us start it out. For starting it, I will do is I will clean it up. Okay, all my resources. The cleaning up of or a deletion of all this application. Everything it is deployed as a Kubernetes deployment. So exactly you can delete it. It is etl delete deploy name of the deployment. I wanted to start it from the beginning. If I delete it, all my pods also get deleted. Okay, nothing is left out. So now I wanted to check all the resources present in Kubernetes cluster. Have a service, MySQL service as well as MySQL service and or employee app service. That if you can keep it. So let us delete it out so that we can start starting from this fresh. Okay, the old data. Out. Just check it out. CM. I will my configuration map. Currently, I'm this of get secret. Couple of secret is also there, so we delete it off that as well. Yeah. Okay. The required one it got deleted for us. That should be okay. So now to start with our application, this backend application, Spring Boot application, we need to create it. Okay, how you do that? In our Spring, by default, they give us a base version. Okay, if you hit this particular URL start.spring.io, you can create a hello world or a boiler template. We call it as a boiler template. Okay, the Spring guys itself has given us this tool where you can, in order to start it out right, it gives us a boiler template code. Okay, if you are starting fresh, right, what I would suggest you go through this particular code, this particular website. So let us select Java, and we wanted to use, rather than instead of a Gradle, we wanted to use Maven. Okay, let us use 3.10 itself. We are developing on a 28th May. I'll mention it as a 28th May. Okay, 28th May. 28th. Okay, that is what I wanted to call it. Even the demo application, it will be called as like that. I'll say Spring. Okay, so if you see, whatever the name details you're mentioning it out, according to that, it is getting changed. Okay, so when you click on generate, right, what it does is it will generate a zip file for us, which contains all the binaries. Okay, so let us go generate it. So if you see here, it has created a 28th May demo file. Okay, I'll cut this, copy it. Then what I will do here, I will go to my working directory, finder. Okay, I will paste over item 28 oh, it has been created. I'll extract it. I've extracted this part. So you can see here the 28th demo application. I will close others tabs. So if you see here my application, okay, so this is a demo boiler template which is Spring has given to us. Okay, Spring team has given to us. So if you could see here, we have a default pom.xml. This is what it helps us to create a dependency for our Spring Boot application, whatever it is there. And pom.xml is the one which is by Maven, okay, in order to do our regular activity, okay, regular build and deployment activities. One second. Sorry about that. So if you could see here, we have built a demo application for us. Okay, the demo application, it says for Spring Boot, the main application, it has it. Okay, so the resources, if you have any database connection, those details you can mention it over. Okay, so in order to, this is our demo boiler template a Spring Boot team has given to us. Okay, let us go and build this up. Okay, so I will say, I'll open terminal. Okay, I will say Maven. Okay, I will say package. Okay, Maven package, it is used to create a tarball for us. Okay, since it is the first time I am running it, all the dependencies it will try to download it from the internet. Okay. If you see, it has successfully, build is successful, and it has created a target folder. So target folder contains our jar file. Okay, this is our jar file which has just now freshly generated. Okay, so now if we wanted to create a image out of it, okay, in that uh, in order to create a image, so we require a Docker file. Okay, I will copy my existing Docker file. I'll keep it here. If you open this Docker file, right, it has says from OpenJDK. My code is extending from this particular base image. Okay, we are creating a app directory. Okay, and then actually this is not required for as such because I'm not using this particular app directory. It if I'm keeping all my jars over there, it made sense. Okay, so now the first one is it is extending from the OpenJDK. Next, what I'm saying to Docker is, well, creation of this particular image, copy this target and this jar file which was generated in the previous command. Okay, in my case it was, the jar name is 20th May. Okay, that is today's date. So here I'll mention copy target. Okay, copy this as this one. Okay, so Spring Boot for example, it will copy this one and it will rename it as a like this. Okay, and then when we are when this particular image will be running as a container, right, I'm asking it to run my Spring Boot application. That is what I'm doing. Okay, so now let us run the next command. Okay, I'll try to run it here. But, the font. This is my location where my Docker file exists. So now in order to see existing Docker images, how many it is present in my laptop. Okay, you need to say Docker image list. Okay, if I say this, these are all the 4 images are present in my local laptop, my laptop. This one is for a mini cube. This one is another version. Okay. So now what I wanted is I will let me go and build it. Okay. The command is docker build. Okay. -t stand for a tag. Okay. And next bit is our docker repository, where exactly docker repository, docker hub container, where exactly our repository exists, right? That details we need to provide. Okay. I'm going to my repositories on that. Spring Boot 20th May, I had already created a repository. If you have not created it, click here on create. You should be able to create it. It will take a hardly couple of minutes. Okay. So I'll copy this bit. So currently, if you could see, we have 1.0 tag and 54 tag. Gave us some random number. My last 1 hour ago. Okay. So now what we need to give is this external repository where exactly our Docker registry exists, right? That details you need to provide it to. Is now the next bit is where exactly our Docker file exists. Okay. So that if you see in my current working directory, Docker hub Docker file exists. Okay. So let me call it as now it is at 12 o'clock. Okay, I will mention 12 o'clock itself. 12. This is the version of image. This is the tagging. I'm just doing a tagging. Okay, so I will click build now. Okay, so if you see here, it is doing a build. There are two tasks was there. It has to download OpenJDK 20th version. On top of that one, it has to copy the second task. Copy this particular file from my local folder, target folder, and push it to into this the new image. Okay, so the naming of the image, it has been given like this. Okay, so if I go and run the command docker image list, okay, you'll be able to see the new tag has been created. You could see 34 seconds ago it has been created, right? So 34 seconds ago it has been created. Okay, so if you could see here, the docker registry, we don't have 12 version of it, right? So how exactly you can do? How exactly you can push the image which is present inside our laptop, that is this one. How exactly we can do a push? That is this bit it is. That is this command. Okay. Docker, we have built the image in the previous command, docker build command. Now we are doing a docker push. Okay. This what it will do is the 12th version, whatever has been created, has to be moved to Docker hub. Okay. The command what you use is push. Okay. Let us run that. Docker push. Here we need to give our repository name and what is the version you wanted to push it. I guess it's 12 tag. So let me enter it out. So if you see, started to push it, probably it may take some time depending on your bandwidth and all. Okay, it took literally 9 seconds in order to push it. So let us go to our Docker hub. If you see here, 54 and 1.0 exists. I will do refresh. You see, 12th is record. 12th tag has been generated a few minutes ago. Okay. In this way, we build our Spring Boot application, build a image using Docker file, and then push it to our Docker hub registry. Okay. So the next bit is, in order to fasten this bit, what I have done is I have built this particular. This is the whatever our Spring initializer gives us a basic demo application, okay, boiler template, which doesn't have all the interaction with the database and all those uh, all those bit. Okay, if you want, let me know the comments. So if you want it, right? So I should be able to do another session on this bit itself, how exactly you need to code it. Okay, as of now, I've shown you how exactly Spring Boot application can be a boiler template, can you can get it. Okay, how exactly it has to be added? Probably in the, if you add a comment, I should be able to do another video on that. Okay, so the next bit is our the similar pattern. What I have done is I've built a image. Okay, that is 54 image. I have pushed it probably on half an hour ago. So if you want, I can push it again as well. Okay, so let us do one thing. We'll push it again. So I will go to a backend code. Okay, backend code. So instead of 54, another one. This is my backend. We go inside the backend folder. Backend. I will say same command. Okay, I will say docker build 12 o'clock 28th. Today is the 28th May, right? I will say 28th version. Okay, I'll build it now. Target folder exist. Already I've compiled it. Okay, so I will enter it. So if you hardly few seconds, okay, so Docker image list 28th record. Since the image was already built, okay, 57 minutes ago, it was very quick. So let me do one thing. I will delete it off the older version so that it let us see the actual way, how exactly it took, how much time it took. Okay, let us say image I of forcing it. As some conflict, it's okay. So now let us build it again. We don't have a 28th version. Let's build it again. So if you see, let's build it again. So image list, the 28th is taking 59, probably has its own references. Okay, so let me is being used by our minikube container. That is the reason it's not allowing me to clear it out. Okay, it's okay. So let us delete the other one. This is our cleaning bit. Okay, we have cleaned it up. So now let us go and build a image again. So if you see it, our image that has been built. Let's go and the same image. That's the 28th version. Is not over here. Just push it. Docker push. Same command I will tweak it. Try to push it. Docker push. Has been pushed. Let us refresh it. See, a few seconds ago, number 28th, it has been pushed in. Okay. So now, in order to run our same application, okay, what we need to do is we need to go inside our Kubernetes. Okay, there are multiple ways you can create our Kubernetes resources. Okay, using the CLI commands, using YAML file. The best or better ways of currently in our actual project, we use Helm. Okay, probably in the next week session we will use using a Helm. Okay, how exactly using Helm you can deploy application. Okay, so that is that we'll try to learn in the next week's session. Okay, so now if I come back to our backend, right? So in order to deploy our MySQL deployment first, so we should first deploy MySQL database, because our front end application is depending on our database, right? For that, what you need to do is just check it out first. Any residual things are there available on our Kubernetes cluster or not. We don't have any resources here. Okay, so what we wanted to do is, as I explained in yesterday's sessions, MySQL database is straightforward. Okay, there is a few secrets and config map has to be run. That will be running now. It has to be deployed. That is kubectl apply. So I wanted to add a secret. The MySQL root password first. Okay, I will enter it. Then MySQL user, right? User. Then thereafter we will be running our config map. Okay. Then thereafter we will run MySQL deployment. Since it's the unchained, right? So there was already that particular resource was there. That is the reason it did not create it, did not change it. Okay. Config map, it got deleted successfully. That is the reason it created it freshly. Okay. So our MySQL deployment doesn't exist. So we will create it. So if I do a kubectl get deployment, you should be able to see our deployment is successful. Okay. If I go and check the pods, get pod, be able to see our MySQL database is running. Okay. So now the next bit is a Spring deployment. Okay. This MySQL deployment, we have done it yesterday. Okay. That is the reason I went a bit faster. Okay. The Spring deployment. Okay. So there are two things to this. Okay. One is the deployment. Kubernetes world deployment is the next under the deployment or pod template we mention it out. Okay. Always pod will be inside the deployment. You can think of it as a father and child relationship. Okay. Or Kubernetes deployment is a next layer on top of layer of a pod. So here what we are giving is the common part is API, kind is deployment we are trying to deploy it. Metadata, the name of our deployment we are giving as a employees app deployment. Okay. So here we are labeling it as a employees -app. Okay. And then what we are mentioning it as the name of the pod we are giving it is, and this is our image. That is what we have currently baked. So if you see here, this is our, go to here, right? You see, if I copy this and paste it here, for reference purpose. Okay, you would be able to see Beginner Academy Spring Boot 20th May. Okay, that is a repository name. Okay, next is a version. Last version what I tested was 54. The new one what I've created is the 28. Okay, so that is bit been we need to change it. Okay, apart from that, you see container port is 8080. So in order to run our this particular application, right, the Spring Boot application, so what we have done is, if you go to the src folder, the resources application .yaml file, this is the application.yaml file where we mention which data source, that is which database we have, our application has to connect it. Okay, that is what we have mentioned it. DB host, DB name is picking a DB username. These are all environment variable. So how our Spring container gets those variables basically from this particular path. The DB host, right? This bit, what it does is it picks it from a config map called as a DB config. Okay, so that already we have configured it, so that it picks it up. So during the run of our pod, what it does is for a config map, it goes to our DB config and picks it up. Okay, so the DB name, it will pick it from our DB config map again. Okay, so username and password, it is picking it up from the secret what we have already created. The password is also it up from there secret only. Okay, so this is on the deployment part. Okay, let us go and create this particular deployment. Command is, if I say kubectl apply, so instead of Spring, we need to run that particular apply command on Spring deployment where our deployment exists. Okay, apart from deployment, it will go and create a services as well. Run it out. So if you see, it created a service, created our application. Okay, so what will be doing is, now our application, it is up and running. Okay, so let us check it out. So first what you will check is deployment. You would be able to see our application has been up and running. Okay, two application is running. One is a MySQL database and another one is our Spring Boot application. Okay, so now in order to check it out, our application is working fine or not, what you will do is check kubectl get deployment. Okay, last 40 seconds it is working fine. Okay, so you wanted to check the logs of our Spring Boot application. How you do that? Say logs minus f and our pod name. You enter this bit, would be able to see the logs inside our Kubernetes, inside our Spring Boot application. You could see it has been started. Okay, it is using our MySQL connection, and it is connected to our database. Okay, so you can see it has started a Tomcat server, okay, on a 8080. Okay, so now how exactly we can access this particular application? Okay, so as I explained earlier in my last sessions, so our how the service works is, any request coming over here, okay, it based on the selection criteria, all the request comes to the service. Okay, based on the selection criteria, the request is forwarded to respective apps, respective our pod containers inside the pod. Okay, so now we have this service. So anyone wanted to access this particular application, we need to interact with the service itself. Okay, so since this is a minikube cluster, what we need to do is we need to do a port forwarding, that is a tunneling. Okay, so how you do it? It is basically using a Kubernetes commands. Okay, I will say kubectl port hyphen forward I will say this is my service. I'll say service dash, and our application is running on 8080. I will say 8080. Okay. So let me, I'll access it via 80 and add the container port is on. Okay, so 80 port I can't run it. Okay. I'll say 8080 itself. Okay, me run it. So if you see, this has opened a tunnel. Okay, my application is running on that particular inside the pod itself. Okay, so let us go and access this particular application. How exactly you do it? Exactly you can do it. It is based. Put a URL. Okay, just localhost 8080 port. That is what I have posted. You click on that. It doesn't have any records. Okay, empty means no records present. Okay. Now using Postman, again I will try to hit the same thing. Here the same thing. There is no data at all. Right. So if I wanted to create a data, that is, I am calling my API call, okay, using Postman. So let us say first record. I will send it. So this is the API call I am making it. Okay, if you see, my ID has been generated. First record, it has been generated. That is, I am hitting this particular our backend. Backend is forwarding the request to our DB. Okay, so now let us go and test out our application. Let us log into our database and check it out. Okay, so if you wanted, just now I have inserted a data, right? So if you refresh it, the first record, it will be displayed here. Okay, now how exactly you can check your database? Okay, in order to check the database, the data present in our database, we need to log into that particular database. How you do that? Using kubectl exec command. Okay, I will say, I'll try to first find out a pods. Okay, this is our MySQL pod which is running. So in order to log into our MySQL pod, what we need to do is MySQL container which is inside the pod, okay, exec. exec stand for execution, minus it stand for a iteration, or sorry, interactive mode. Okay, let us hit the MySQL pod name /bin/bash. Okay, you enter that. Okay, the command I have entered wrong. Well, I am, yeah, takes happen, right? So now let us do a log into our database. Command is MySQL minus U stand for a user, root is a username, the super admin user, minus P is the password. I will enter the password I gave. Okay, the admin I have given. I will logged in. Okay, so in order to see the database, okay, I will say show data database. You could see our student database is present. In order to run our basic commands into that particular database, we need to say use student DB. Okay. Once the database is changed, what we need is to see the tables, show tables. Select star from our employees table. Okay, you can see that. Okay, if you want to describe the table, you can say describe that particular table. Okay, these are all the fields we have. Okay, if you see, our ID is auto increment. That is the reason we are not entering any data. Okay, let us go and create few more data. Okay, so I will say second record. Click on this. you should be able to, the record has been created. Let us get it. We get the to record. You go here and run the same command, the data has been inserted. Okay. In this way, what we do is we try to create our backend and a Spring Boot application. Okay. So now, since we have a good 15 minutes of a time, what we will be doing is we will go through the Helm chart. That is what the next step for our this bootcamp. Okay, let us learn that what it is a Helm chart. Okay, in Kubernetes world, right? So if you type Helm, okay, so the first site itself, what it comes, right? This is what it is, a Helm software. Okay, in order to run this particular Helm has to be installed on your laptop. In order to install Helm, so there is a few binaries. If you are using Windows laptop, okay, just say Helm install on Windows. Okay, if you click on this, so there is a binaries it has been given. Okay, you can either tar and can do a untar. Okay, or if you are using a Mac, or if you are using Mac, it is a straightforward brew install Helm. Chocolate, if you are using, can use chocolate, you can install the Kubernetes Helm. Okay, so you can ask me what is Helm. Okay, so Helm is a Kubernetes package manager. It's built for only for the Kubernetes itself. Okay, so what is the structure of the Helm charts? It's basically it has a templates and all. Okay, so in order to generate a base version of a Helm chart, right? The command what we use is, okay. So let me take a one structure. Okay, I'll create a folder. dir say Helm. Okay, let us go and go inside that Helm folder. Okay, so in order to generate a boiler template in Helm, okay, what you do is run a command. Just say, so if you see it doesn't, this folder we don't have anything. Okay, so what you do is Helm, just say create. Okay, and just say whatever the chart you wanted to create it. I'll say nginx. Okay, so if you whatever the name you say it, right, what it will do, it will create a boiler template chart for us. Okay, if you go and see here, if I do a ls, nginx folder has been created. If I do a ls, you will be able to see all these files it has been created. Okay, so if I wanted to spin it out, just this project window. Okay, so if you see this folder structure, file structure, we haven't done it. Automatically this chart was created by Helm itself. Okay, so if you wanted to see the folder structure, file structure, so Helm contains a chart.yaml file which mentions what is this chart about and all. It has a values file where we mention the image details. Okay, and whatever our chart is using, right, all those details will be mentioned in the values YAML file. It is nothing but any values file if you wanted to overwrite, right? So those all the values, key and value, the value can be increased or it can be changed. Whatever you wanted to override, right, the default values, that you can change it over here. Okay, so this particular Helm charts contains a deployment, okay, and as well as the ingresses, services, service account as well. Okay, so if you want it, if you see here, what it is doing is by default when you create this Helm chart, right, it creates a nginx Helm chart. Okay, so in this particular nginx Helm chart, what we have is if we try to deploy it, okay, it will deploy a Helm deployment. It will create a Helm pods inside our Kubernetes cluster. Okay, let us go and see it out. How exactly we'll create it. Okay, so if I do a blank but kubectl get pod, right? We have only two. Okay, now we are changing it to the Helm. Helm, note that Helm is a package manager, meaning, so if you remember in our folder structure, right, we had these many files. Okay, so we had these 5 files were there, right? So one by one I was applying it. Rather than doing that, we will create a Helm chart, meaning we will group everything in as a one chart. Okay, inside that we will fill in all the YAML file. We'll keep all the YAML file, and we will, with the only one command, can run complete chart itself. Okay, a chart is a, what is the chart? It's a chart is a contains a multiple Kubernetes resources grouped under one folder. That is what it's called as a Helm chart. Okay, so now let us go and see it out. Okay, so I will say let us go and install it. Okay, so if you wanted to install Helm chart, first we need to say Helm. Let us see using since it is a package manager, right? Let us see how many charts are currently installed on my this Kubernetes cluster. If I say Helm list, right, I won't be able to get anything because nothing, there are no charts are installed on my laptop on my Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so now let us create one Helm chart. Run this Helm chart, whatever it has been created by ourselves, right, just now. So let us say Helm install. Okay, we will demo. Okay, I'll say 28th demo. Okay, demo 28. Then we need to mention where exactly our chart is present. In my case, in my current working directory, chart is present. So I'll say dot. Okay, so it says invalid name. Okay, and it is not expecting a number. Demo on Helm. Also, it is my capital letter. Demo 28. Okay, if you see, my application has been deployed. Okay, it's simple single command. Okay, if you go and check the Helm list, right, would be able to see the name of the our release was demo 28. That is what it was given over here. Okay, and it's a first version. Okay, and it says deployment status, it is deployed. The chart name is Ginex. Okay, so now let us check our kubectl. Okay, get pod. You could see our demo 28 Nginx has been deployed. Okay, it is running from a last 36 seconds. So now think that I wanted to increase my, there is a hell, my application is a super application which is everyone is accessing it. Okay, it is unable to withstand the load. Okay, one pod is unable to withstand it. Okay, so my application is going down. So now I need another 5. Okay, so where, what you could do is you can increase the replica count from 1 to 5 in values.else YAML file. Okay, and rerun our chart. Okay, go to a Helm list. Here you can see the revision is 1. Okay, so now let us say instead of Helm install, we'll say first time only you will go for install. The second time onwards you will say, since we are upgrading it, right, we'll say upgrade demo 28. So if you see, release has been upgraded. Revision version is now is 2. Okay, so let us check the Helm list. Okay, before that I will do. So if you see further, okay, Helm list, if you do it, the name is 28th demo 28th, revision is 2. Okay, it is deployed successfully. Okay, so let us go and check the pods, our pods. Okay, I'll say kubectl get pods. So if you see, it has increased by 5 pods. Okay, how exactly you can check? You can say kubectl, okay, ctl pod. I wanted to grab it. Okay, I'll say grep a demo. Okay, only that it will come, the demo Nginx related. Then I will count it by wc minus l. If you do that, you will get a number. Okay, number is 5. Okay, now think that further your application is increased. There is a heavy load. Okay, what you will do will increase to 10. Okay, so you will run the same upgrade command now. Version has been increased to 3. Okay, so if you do a Helm list, you will see our revision version 3 it has been deployed. Okay, so I will, if you wanted to count it, you will see 10 pods that has been created. Okay, the simple task, if you go and see kubectl get deploy, all the 10 pods it has been visible now. Okay, now your application is deployed, everything is successful. You wanted to delete it off all the resources it has been created by this particular chart. Your project is scrapped, think that. Okay, so in that case, what you do is pick the Helm chart name. Okay, instead of install, you will say uninstall. Okay, in order to delete it off. Demo 28. So if you see, it has been uninstalled. If I go back and see kubectl get pod, it is slowly terminating. Okay, so if I do it again, it's gone. Okay, the complete chart, what all the resource it has been Kubernetes resource was created, right? Everything it is gone. Okay, so if you like this video, if until now, if you have liked this kind of a content, please subscribe and like this video and add a comment. Okay, whatever the comments if you add, I'll try to improve it. Okay, and in the next session, what we will be doing is using Helm, we'll try to deploy our backend as well as our MySQL chat. Okay, that's it for today. Okay, see you next week, guys. Bye bye. Take care, guys.